let's be clear, populism doesn't mean being popular. You can be popular like Barack Obama, but not be a populist. So what is populist? One of the definitions I used was that, first of all, populists are people who take power by projecting authenticity, that they're different. And they project authenticity sometimes in a perverse way, by making sexist jokes, racist jokes, not following the rituals of how a statesman has to behave. So Duterte has his own way of doing that by cussing. Trump has his own way of doing that, so on and so forth, right? So bad manners, as Benjamin Moffitt, an Australian scholar, put it, is very central to. So first of all, it's a style. To be a populist, you have to have a certain style. Obama clearly was talking like a traditional statesman. Aquino was also very popular when he stepped down. In fact, both Aquino and Obama stepped down with almost identical approval ratings of close to 60%. But they were very much traditional statesmen. Duterte and Trump are completely questioning the rules of the game. But what's even more relevant with populism is that populists believe that they are the only voices of the people. And anyone who contradicts them are anti-the people. So for Professor Muller, for instance, of Princeton University, in his book, What is Populism, which was just published last year, his argument is that populists are eventually going to be autocrats. It's just inbuilt. Because at one point, because whenever someone contradicts them, he can other them as the enemy of the people. Now, you can start with someone like Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez, I think, had great intentions for his country. I think Hugo Chavez was a progressive person. A lot of us admired Hugo Chavez in the beginning. But eventually we saw what happened in Venezuela. Whoever contradicted Hugo Chavez, they had to be shut down or shut out of the political system or put in jail or kicked out of Venezuela. And look at Venezuela today. So even if you have a very progressive guy like Hugo Chavez put in charge, if you employ populism to rule, you're inevitably on the road to authoritarianism. So I think that's a very skeptical way of looking at it. But there's some huge element of truth. So in the Philippines, the fear is that Duterte is lurching, or Duterte is kind of bringing the country closer and closer to the autocratic system, because there's no way for Duterte to bring about the systemic change that he wants with the current system, because the current system is still very much controlled by this liberal oligarchy that Duterte detests. And a lot of people in the Philippines are more and more welcoming of autocracy because they feel the system has been hijacked already. So you need to move towards. So some people are okay perhaps with the idea of martial law. But I think the majority of people at this point in time are okay with martial law unless it's not in Metro Manila and North. If it's in the south, in Mindanao, where you have a specter of ISIS, it's okay. But nonetheless, we're also dealing with a specter of martial law across the country, something that is worrying a lot of people in the media, among others. But something that gives me a lot of hope is the Philippine military. Duterte respects the military. He might be popular and everything like that, but the military in the Philippines has taken out 2 presidents in the last 3 decades. So Duterte has to respect the military. And the military so far, based on my conversation with people at the highest levels, are not very excited about the military, about the martial law. In fact, if anything, both the defense minister, Secretary Lorenzana, and the leader of the chief of the Joint Army Chief of Staff, General Anyo, advised Duterte even against declaring martial law in Mindanao. So I'm sure they'll be even more skeptical about declaring martial law nationwide. But God forbid, if there's a major incident in Manila, martial law in Manila and across the Philippines is not out of question.